going to walk through going some of those features. Let's just build one from scratch, and I'll just rename this one. Is this too small? Should I make this bigger?
I can read it just fine, but
Okay.
I'm on the front row, so. This is your opportunity on the back row. If you can't see it, speak up.
You can see it? Okay, cool. So we'll just make a component and go over some of the template stuff. So one sweet thing to do with TypeScript when you get your tooling set up is check this out. You can do stuff like, you can just forget what you're importing. Just forget about it. Come over here, type in where you're going to import from. So Angular 2/core. And then you can go back to the import and you'll get that nice lookup like that. Pretty cool. Tell you everything you need to know. Bam.
So you don't have to memorize individual modules, you just have to kind of memorize the buckets of like Angular core, there's a bunch of stuff in there I need, etc. So that's definitely helpful.
So we're just going to make a component here. Nothing new, nothing fancy. Selector, any valid CSS selector, demo, template. We haven't made it yet, but I'm just going to put it here. We'll get there. Notice that I'm using the require because, like you said, this is a good approach. I agree. I really like it. Better this way. So require is the same thing as import. This import, when it compiles down, just turns into this. So we can just use it because this is common.js. And it's going to compile down to common.js anyway. And the reason I know that is because if we go look at our TS config, it says right there, it's just going to compile it down to common.js. And the reason I can't use import down here is because it's not part of the ES6 spec. You can only use import at the top of your file before any of your code is initialized, unless you do a dynamic require like this, or if you're using system.js, you can do system.import. But a regular standard import, you can only do the top of your file. So that's why I have to use the require here. And again, since Webpack is awesome, we can require an HTML file, which is just going to give us a string. So this is just going to render a string, which is awesome. Follow me? All right. It's the same thing as writing it inline. If I was to write this template inline, it'll be the same thing. But it's going to get the file at build time and put it in here. Cool. All right. So then we're just going to export a class, call it demo. And then let's just set up some stuff. Let's set up a message, and we'll call it hello. Oops, that's not right. Hello. So notice I'm not really using any TypeScript here. This is all just ES6, ES 2015. I didn't use any types, anything like that. It's still going to work. Shazam. So let's save that. Let's go up here. Let's make our HTML file. And then let's just put that message in here on an H1. So basic interpolation here. So if we go look at this, there it is, hello. So that's interpolation. So again, like I said, we can't do like that because we don't get access to that. It just breaks. Can I read log of undefined? So we don't have access to global scope here. So that's proof of that. So that will freak out. So don't do that. And we also can't do like bitwise operations and stuff like that. So that's basic interpolation. Let's check out event handlers. So we can make a button. Click. Let's make another button. Not all that. And we'll say, change me. And then on this click right here, on this button, what we want to do is we want to bind to the click event on the button. And we want to register a statement. In this case, we'll just say handle click. And we want to invoke that function just like that. So now what we need to do is we need to be responsible and go back to our component and actually make that method available on the prototype. So I'll just say handle click Shazam. And then what I want to do is just do an alert. So let's go back and check this out. Refresh. Now if I click this, you get an alert. Pretty simple. So again, click, handle the click. It's implied because this template is already loaded to this component. It has access to this component's scope, pretty much. So handle click comes from here. So I don't have to say this component's name dot handle click inside the template. It already knows what context it belongs in. So that's event handling. Now let's set up property binding. So now what we can do is we can bind to the disabled property, and we want this button to be disabled when is disabled is true. Right? So now what we'll do is we'll come in here and let's just add some basic styles. I don't think we talked about styles yet, but maybe we touched on it a little bit, but Angular allows us to do, we can encapsulate our styles to the component, which is pretty great. If you ever used CSS modules before, it's almost the same thing, except for it doesn't randomize the CSS class names. It just encapsulates them because of the shadow down, which is really cool. So all the styles that we define in this array right here will not be global. So we don't have to worry about them overriding other styles. It's pretty cool. And they cannot be changed from outside of this component by default. We can change that though. So button, background color, red. This is pure CSS here. Note that because I'm using ES6 strings here, template strings, that means I can use dynamic values in here, which is pretty cool because this is just JavaScript. So I could substitute this with like a value for a variable called red or something that I had. So now you have a dynamic styles, which is pretty cool. But we're not gonna do that right now. So background color is red. I'm sorry, I just hate ugly buttons. I can't stand them.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of there. There we go. I have to do this, I'm sorry. Cool, so we got that. Oh wait, no we don't. It has to be at least 80 pixels. I mean, how else would you click it? And then a good height of like 50 pixels, of course. Cool, okay, that'll work. And then now, oh wait, yeah, that'll work. And now when the button is disabled, we're gonna bind to the disabled property. When it's disabled, let's just set the background color to pink. And then we'll do a cursor not allowed. Boom. So now all we need to do now, if we go back and look at our template, we notice we have this is disabled property, so we need to initialize that. So I'm just gonna say is disabled, and I'm gonna say false. Again, I'm not using any TypeScript stuff here. I could if I wanted to. I could come in here and just say, you know what? You're a Boolean, and E equals false. I can do that, but I'm not. I'm just gonna do that, and it still works. So cool, now we got that, and then set of an alert, we're gonna say this dot is disabled equals not this dot is disabled. So just toggle it. All right, so now if we go back to our example, and we click this, there it is. It disables it. If I click it again, it's enabled. Disabled, enabled. All right, so how is all that happening? Because when I click this event handler, it's gonna call handle click, which then toggles this property, which is then binded to this property, and it disables it. Any questions on this so far? I see a lot of people scratching their heads. Yes.
What kind of event data do you get back?
Right now, we don't get any event data because I'm not sending any event data. So if I go in here and just like, yeah, it's just args, I guess. Let's just see.
I think $event is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I know. I'm just trying to prove a point. See
He knows.
if anything is implicitly being passed in. So let's see if anything is being passed in for us here. Let's just take a look. No, so nothing's being implicitly passed in. So that means we definitely have to do it ourselves. So I'll just pass in the event, and it's just going to be a native event. It's not like some wrapped synthetic event. It's a native event. So we get access to what you would normally get if you registered on click on any element. Yeah, just a mouse event. Cool.
But then when you do outputs, then you get a lot more interesting things because you can put whatever you want into the event itself.
Yeah, on the other way around, you can send whatever you want on your custom event. Yes.
There's a couple questions on. I think Lucas was covering them a little bit, but is there a way to put these dynamic styles into external CSS or?
And I said with require.
There are so many ways to do that. So, man.
And then this question follow up to that was, can you inspect the button with Chrome DevTools to show off the dynamic styles, or to see what they actually look like?
Yeah, I could do that. So for the dynamic styles, I'm pretty sure there's a styles URL property that you can use, which takes a URL to a style sheet. So that would solve that. If you wanted to do that, you could also just place these in a style sheet, and using Webpack, we could just import this in as well using a raw loader. So for instance, if we had Webpack configured to use the raw loader for a file extension of CSS, which we do, haha, that's awesome. Well, at least in mine I do. If you don't, you could do it. So that means now, and I'll just do it right now to show you, we could take out these styles, and instead we could just require demo.css, and then I'm just going to make a demo.css. I'm just going to paste that in there without those strings, save it, and it should work exactly the same. And it does. Because this is just going to be a string. The raw loader will take any file and just turn it to a string. That's what raw loader does. And Webpack, we set it up in my config right here that says, hey, any file with a CSS extension, run it through the raw loader. And that's how it turned it to a string. If you wanted to do this without setting up your Webpack config, pro tip, you can pass in loaders to Webpack through the require like this. So I could say, you know, I want to do like raw loader only for this one. You could do that. And then what it would do is it'll like, okay, I'm going to require this file, but I'm going to pass it through this loader first. Yeah. So like
Seriously powerful stuff.
yeah, that's what I said. Webpack is nuts. It's crazy, but it's like really hard to like grab. JSPM does that too, so it's pretty awesome. Oh, and then as far as like looking at the styles, yeah, let's take a look at them. Let's go look at this guy, and let's click and see what happens. Looks like it's definitely changing there, so it's all good. Boom. It's pink and not allowed. And there it changes.